Hello, hello, you most beautiful stars. Happy Friday. Yes, this is your weekend message starting at Friday, 11 a.m. live Eastern Standard Time. Hello, beloveds. How are we doing? I am Courtney, host of Stars of the Morning Light. And once again, yes, I am live. So I do try to say hello to those who come in the chat because we are a lovely community here. Today, this is going to be a part of there's two separate playlists, and this is actually attached to both. The 3D consciousness playlist and the healing and love playlist. Okay. So today we're talking about empaths. This is curriculum that I put together well over a year ago and went through the patrons with it, the patrons of Stars of the Morning Light. I am going to use the lesser version, the more compact version, the keynotes for everyone out there. Now, there is a much more extended version of the different empaths and the different abilities, the different traits, all of that beautiful jazz. That if you would like me to do an episode with the extended version, and I'll give examples as we go along here, leave a comment below. Because right now, today, February 28th of 2025, we are going to be doing the more compact, most common of empaths, their abilities, and their challenges. I see that Seeker of Truth 2 came in. Good day to you and Neil, beloved stars out there. Aren't we happy that February is coming to a close? You know that beloved February just sneaks up all the time on me. It's like, whoo, who knew that was going to happen? Even though it happens every year, other than every fourth. Huh? What? What a weird month February is. I do want to encourage people to get a bit of laughter in their life. What a dynamic, that's the word I want to use. What a dynamic winter it has been in the northern hemisphere. I'm sure also in the southern. Laughter is the best medicine. It truly is. And as we are moving into Pisces season after such a dynamic winter, I can feel that the tension, the fears, the anger is building within the collective in different pockets that affect the whole, right? And so laughter always helps. And Pisces, beloved Pisces, as much as we adore them and we need that energy, it's not really known for its humor. It's known for a lot of great things, Pisces energy, but not so much its humor. So I encourage everyone this weekend, do something that makes you laugh. Call that friend that's always humorous. Maybe get together with people, play a card game. I did that last Saturday. It was great. So much laughter. Watch videos that you love that make you laugh. If it's dogs being dogs and babies being babies, do something that brings a smile to your face. Because, yes, in these times, empaths are affected greatly. And that's why we're doing this message today. Good to see Big Dad standing tall. Happy day, Neil. Before I get into the discussion of empaths today, we pulled from our sacred geometry deck, and it's number 21, Divine Feminine. I do believe I understand why this message came, or why this card came out, because usually in the message of this material about empaths, their gifts, their challenges, we end up talking a lot about intuition. And intuition is actually within all humans. All humans have an intuition, some greater, some lesser, right? As in its degree of intensity. But intuition is feminine energy. It truly is. When more of the ego that is within all humans, right? And we need the ego for safety reasons. That's more masculine energy. It's like the brother and sister of the two that live within this human body of form. So, because I know that this conversation that we're about to have is very, it talks about intuition greatly. That I'm assuming that's why this sacred geometry card came out. So, number 21, divine feminine. The frequency of divine feminine supports our receptive, nurturing, and soft side, allowing it to express itself openly and helping us to connect to our intrinsic understanding of our connection to all of creation. As I hold this card up, divine feminine. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. That sacred geometry, that is beautiful. Do know, beloveds, that the the messages from Archangel Gabriel, two of them are ready and set to release in March. The zodiac and collective Akashic readings will be going out to the patrons today and then to everyone else somewhere within the first week of March. The patrons of Stars of the Morning Light always receive them first. What a most beautiful, divine, feminine, sacred geometry. All right, beloveds. Happy, happy day. Yes. So, over the course of the past few weeks, we have been covering why is it so hard in 3D living consciousness to obtain peace of mind, harmony, moments of just being in the now. Why is it so hard to sustain the compassion and the upliftment of 5D and 7? We also then were talking about last week we did the healing power of no. Oh my goodness, and beloveds, I had no idea that no was going to be such a impactful word for me in the week that preceded this past week. We have been covering a lot of things as to the up and down nature. Why is it hard? But why are also how do we strive for more, I should say. Well, then we got to talk about empaths, don't we? Yes. When we live in a time period, as we talk so much in the Edgar Casey life skill studies right now, that when we're in the book on reincarnation, in that in those episodes, that playlist, you can always check them out about Edgar Casey. A lot of the writings that we cover there keep emphasizing that how unique Edgar was and how unique of all of his abilities. Now, I am not saying he wasn't. I'm saying the times have changed. 100 years forward, we can witness that there are so many more quote unquote empaths that have been born than in previous 100 years ago generations. Now, do we know for a fact if that's the case? No, not really, because it's not like things were being covered as far as empaths back 100 years and prior. I mean, maybe we don't know. Maybe everybody was an empath. But what we do know, definite, from the crystalline children being born, from the indigo children being born, all these beautiful souls that are like, man, I've done this so many times. I have these innate gifts within me that actually are here to serve me and others. But it's tricky, isn't it? It's not so easy being an empath. And so today, that is what we're discussing, the pluses and the minuses in a ever-changing world. So it's skills, gifts, tools, but also challenges as to why am I always going up and down with this ascension process? Why am I doing pretty darn good? And then, whew, I'm back down again. This is a part of the why. And so I'm sure many people can relate to it. All right. Uh, Seeker of Truth 2 and Big Dad Standing Tall out in California. Um, they also have a sacred geometry deck, and I believe they pulled Universal Love number 44 and Empowerment number 26. That's lovely. So, empowerment and universal love is also attached to this message. All right. So, I grew up knowing about empaths. This was common language in my household. Born of those who were from the 70s. My parents graduated high school in like 73, 74, something like that. So very much into more of the new age, all these new words, right? And so this was kind of a common knowledge in my house. And I grew up thinking it was common knowledge for everyone because of that. And then I really grew up and realized it was not. So, how this is going to go is I'm going to talk about spiritual gifts and give the definitions to that. I'm going to talk about how it was explained to me growing up as how to view these different empaths as far as how their gifts relate to how they operate in the world. And then we're going to go into probably the most predominant empaths compared to like subcategories like green empaths, earth empaths, animal empaths, that sort of thing is when I'm asking if you would like more of this discussion, leave a comment below. So, growing up though, because we're not going to understand any of this, the language I'm going to be using without me explaining how they were explained to me. So I was told as a child about empaths, and they were referred with these adjectives, these descriptor words, as in window empaths, door empaths, and lighthouses. Those were the three. And I'm sure many of you, this is the first time you're hearing that. In representation of that. So as we start going through the lists of the different empaths, I will either refer to them as a door or a window. There's only a couple that are truly lighthouses. Window empaths. Think about a window, okay? We all know a window. There's a window behind me. Things are more, let's say they're easier energy wise to move in and out. See how the sun is reflecting right behind me, out of the window that's right behind me? That light is coming in, but you can also see what's inside my room if you looked in the window. It's very, it's much more accessible. There's only a thin plate of glass that is actually very easy to shatter, very easy for energies to move in and out. And most of the time, windows can bring in a lot, like the light shining right now, or like we said, they can reveal a lot. You can look into any window and go, wow, that's what's going on inside there. You can, so window empaths, much easier for that concept for humans of the mirror, right? We're all mirrors of one another. So these beautiful window empaths, it's like I can see my reflection in that window, or I can see the light that's shining from inside, or not, right? They are much more our mirrors. And just take note that the window empaths energy is much easier to move in and out. Also, with these window empaths, that means not as much, let's say, control over what is revealed, what's in and out of it. Okay, so take note of that. Then you have your doors. And actually, I should say right now, folks, window empaths to me are your feeler empaths. Because I'm also going to use that in relation. You have your knower empaths, right? They just know things. And then you have your feeler empaths. These are the people that are taking a lot in. And when you're with that person, you can see there's a lot going on. It's to be a reflection as a mirror, like to each other, right? So those are usually your feeler empaths. They feel what's going on with the people around them. They feel the collective. They feel. Okay? Because the energies are just flowing so much easier. So much easier. And also take note, just in society, just in the world around you, aren't there more windows than doors? That is also true for the empaths. There are vastly more feelings, people that take in the feelings and then try to release the feelings or not. That's going to be one of the challenges. There's many more windows than there are doors. So that can also give a bit of a scope as to the world we're living in. If we have a whole lot more empaths out there in today's world, and then the majority are feeler empaths that don't have too much, I want to say authority or control over that aspect of their person, right? The other difference, though, then would be doors. Door empaths. Think about a door. Those are more so your knower empaths. They just know stuff. They know if we should go down that alley or not. They know what is going to happen in this business meeting, ugh, or not. They just know stuff, right? They can read you like a book. They just know. Those are more like your door empaths because they have a bit more understanding innately attached to that gift of, I can either open this door or I can shut this door. And it's attached to the knowing. Either I'm going to walk down this alley or I'm not going to walk down this alley. Either I'm going to say hello or I'm not going to say hello. Either I'm going to do business with you or I'm not going to do business with you. It's very black and white for them more so. It's less feelings than a window that, things may come in and out of that window. They try to close the drapes as best as they can, hide in the darkness. Oh, but eventually that window is gonna open up and let everything in, right? It's different. It is a more I just want to use the word controlled kind of gift because it's based on a knowing, not just a feeling, a knowing. And so within that knowing, usually as a young person developing it, having this gift and learning to grow in society with it, they are your people that, like last week, the power of no. They rightly kind of develop that gift of saying no a bit more than the feelers. The feelers will have a more difficult time saying no because they're feeling. They're feeling everything and everyone. And so they can always sense like, well, we can, we could, I should. So take that note. There's less doors in the world that we can walk in and out of. There's less doors that we can shut if we want or open if we want than lighthouses. Lighthouses are meant to be the lights that guide, that are there in the storms, there to for protection, shining the light around and around and around. Unfortunately, lighthouses are definitely more rare as far as the empaths, and because the 3D living consciousness is very difficult for them when we come to talk about the different types of empaths, they usually grow into, because this world is difficult, they usually grow into more of actually your hermits, your isolated beings. Many of them end up having issues like hoarders in a way. Um, so they never actually do shine their light. But that's because if they come here as a lighthouse, it is hard for a lighthouse to continue to shine within the 3D conscious living, and they retreat and they start to kind of crumble, right? They turn their light off, and that those waves just keep knocking them and just keep knocking them. So then they retreat and retreat more inland and more inland and more inland. So unfortunately, there are beautiful lighthouses out there. But unfortunately, because that and this will make sense when we get into the empaths, because they are more rare, we just don't get to see them too often. So the two main ones are your windows and your doors. So I give that explanation because that is how I was raised as little baby Courtney, learning all this stuff, sitting around, I guess learning. I mean, this was taught to me as a young child, probably so I could understand how people operate, right? Especially if I was around maybe a very emotional feeler. I was not the best at feelings growing up because I'm a knower, and so I was always reacting like, "Why are they feeling so much?" It's it's driving me crazy to tell you the truth, right? So my parents had to have this conversation with me of like, "Courtney, there's all types out there." So with that being said, that is how I'm going to kind of classify these different empaths. Either a window that's a feeler, which we need. We need it just as much as we need all the windows in the world, right? We need them more. So bless you if you are one. Doors that are more of your knower empaths, that within that intrinsic ability, they will shut the door in your face or they will open it gladly for you. And then lighthouses. So, good day. I hope everyone is well. And whenever you're catching this, on the flip side of things, I hope this message does serve you. So, as I start going through the different gifts, because I'm going to start with the gifts and then go into the empaths. And when I'm saying these gifts, this is more spiritual gifts, okay? That are usually then associated with the different empaths. So, there is kind of a method to my madness here. I'm hoping that this message does shine some light on the why and maybe self-identity for people. That would be lovely. So the list of abilities as far as like spiritual gifts that I will mostly cover here, and once again, there is extensive curriculum to this. If you do want me to cover that, please leave a comment below. So, spiritual gifts. Clear audience. That is the ability to hear spirit, disembodied beings, and or otherworldly beings. You can hear them. Now, what usually happens is that is inside the person's head. I've worked so many events and been around so many different psychics and readers that when they meet each other, they tend to go, "Hey, can you hear? Can you hear things?" It's like a rite of passage in communication with psychics, I guess. And and if the person says yes, then the second question is, "Well, how do you? Like, how do you hear it?" And the other psychic will probably go, "Oh, in my mind." And they go, "Oh yeah, me too. It's all up here. It's all within my mind." So it's heartwarming for me to watch because that conversation seems to happen every time psychics meet each other. So it's not necessarily auto auditory. That it can be. It can be. It can be as if you're hearing it clear as day through you're hearing me right now. But the majority of clear audience is in the head, is in the mind. And the way they can identify it, it is a different voice than the one that they speak with, or one that is just naturally in their head when they're making their lists and they're planning what they're going to make for dinner, that kind of thing. It's a different voice, different energy, different voice. But it is definitely usually in the head. Clear cognition, the ability to know how events, happenings will occur without using reason or logic. So, most of us who operate in reason and logic, let's say we are planning an event or we're going to event. Like we're just even going to a family function and our reason and logic is saying, "Oh man, Uncle Billy has not forgiven so and so. This is going to be a thing." You know, or that the boss who's running this event has been treating people horrible for 3 weeks, the atmosphere is not gonna be friendly. That's reason and logic, okay? What we're talking about with clear cognition is something maybe way outside of the person. "Oh, um, the fair's happening this weekend. We're not gonna go because there's gonna be an accident with one of the attractions." How do they know? They know. Once again, a door. But that is the gift, right? They just know what's going to happen at events or happenings. Clairvoyance, the ability to see far off events, places, things, and or see through the veil of all spiritual aspects. Seems like it would be the same, right, as clear cognition? Not exactly. This is more kind of a remote viewing aspect, which that's a different gift, but it's somewhat similar to the ability to see far off things happening, but it's like you're seeing it in real time. So different from the clear cognition. The clear cognition is, like I said, the fair's coming to town this weekend. It's not set up, it's not present, it hasn't even happened yet. But we're not going this year. Something's gonna happen, okay? And then a week or 2 later, yes, something comes out in the news, something happened. Clairvoyance is really in the moment. So the fair is happening right now. It's up, it's going, fireworks opened it, started it the opening night. People have been going, everything's great. You actually are planning on going. You're fixing to pack up all the kids in the car, you're ready to go, and then all of a sudden your kid or you go, "Whoa, whoa, something ain't right. Something's not okay." That's a bit different. And then you can see more of, like, the incident would be happening that day. in present tense more so. And they do have clairvoyance has that also special little niche to them that they can see through the veil as to disembodied beings, interdimensional beings. They can see what is around them much easier than other people with other empaths with gifts. And these are the spiritual gifts that will be associated to the empaths. So they have a couple of things going on. Different than clear cognition, right? Like clear cognition is the type that's like it's 3 months before an election they know who's gonna win. Or it's 5 months before the Olympics and they know who's gonna win. That sort of thing. Divination, the ability to use tools in order to predict or foretell happenings. This is people that work with they do need tools. Divination requires tools. So it's different than having the gift of sight, like clairvoyance, or different than clear cognition. They just know we're not going. I don't really see what's happening. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know there's going to be an accident at the fair. One is a sight, one is a knowing. Divination is those who might use tools like this pendulum I'm holding, right? They'll use tarot decks, they'll use pendulums, they will use different wheels, different, all sorts of stuff, right? They will use all sorts of different things. Mediumship, the ability to hear and speak with the dead. Once again, more within someone's mind. So, what's the difference between mediumship and clear audience? On clear audience, you hear spirit, disembodied beings, or other worldly beings. That's the difference. Mediumship is usually just speaking with disembodied dead folks. But let's say they are not going to be able to speak with an archangel or an elemental or an alien, other beings. It is when someone has the gift of mediumship, it is mostly 98% of the time, if they're using that word, it's they can speak to the dead. Telepathy, the ability to read minds, as in hear, see, know other people's thoughts or memories. They can communicate with other telepathic people without using their voice. Telepathy. It is not necessarily as what people might think, how it operates. Let's say it's someone who has a gift of telepathy, and you are rehashing a story of when you were 8 years old when you broke your arm. And it's just a quick, yeah, I broke my arm when I was 8 years old. I was riding my bike and I fell, but then I fell further down into this embankment. My arm broke. It was, that was the first time I broke anything. It kind of really sucked. That's all you said. That's the complete sentences of around that. Someone with telepathy will either know, hear, or see, and it's a whole lot of seeing usually. Let's say they take that scenario. You just said those simple words of you were riding your bike, you fell off your bike, you fell down an embankment, you broke your arm. It sucked because you were 8 years old and you like to play a lot. That's it. That's all you said. Someone with telepathy would see everything that led up to you riding the bike, the accident, what happened after the accident, what happened in recovery. They will be able to understand all of your thoughts and emotions and feelings from before, during, after. It is a complete picture. And it's not maybe just of the individual that's speaking, they are understanding the entire operation of order of all the humans that were involved, from the parents who rushed over to help, to the friend who had to run and go get help, to their understanding in a very big scope what that scenario was like for everyone involved. That is being a that is having the gift of telepathy. They can get the full awareness, understanding, scope of not just the person speaking, but everything they were attached to. So when it's referred to as reading minds, it's because let's say you are approaching this person about business, or you're approaching this person about whatever things that were said, or you're approaching this person about what have you. If that person has the gift of telepathy, they will always know what your true motives are. They will always be able to see the full scope of things. They will always um, know where you're coming from with whatnot, and where it might lead into based on the energies that are available. So past, present, and future. They can also, depending if they learn to regulate that gift or not, when they meet you, you're in a whole bunch of who you are and what you went through in life, and all the scope will be presented to that the person with telepathy. It will always be presented unless that person learns how to regulate themselves. So that is what it really means to read minds. Is it's a knowing or a hearing or a seeing. The hearing could be that maybe they didn't see all that stuff, but as you're telling them something, as you're asking them to do something, whatever it may be, they hear the true words as to why in your mind. The true motive you have for asking and the why and all of it. They know. They know what you're really about. Not so many people have that gift, and yes, if they meet another one, they can communicate back and forth together without moving their lips ever. Remote viewing, the ability to either astral project to events, places, times, and or to view far off places, times, events. So, this is different than the clairvoyance that they're not really astral projecting to things. They are just viewing it quickly of, oh goodness, there's going to be an accident, right? Remote viewing can either have astral projection attached to it or not, but it's a much bigger scope than with the clairvoyance of seeing, right? It's a much bigger scope, as in remote viewing, you will be able to uh, view what's happening within the streets of a city. You will be able to view where that document was hidden. You'll be able to view these things, right? But it could still be from a distant, but yet you're seeing it up close. Or they can astral project. The two work in tandem often. Astral projection is as if you are present in that city and walking the streets and viewing things, opposed to you're in your body, you are here sitting, but you're also viewing all the people, and you're watching and you're finding where that document was hidden, opposed to astral projection, that it's as if you're out of body experience walking with the people. But the two can work hand in hand. Aura reading, the ability to see the energetic field around people and or persons chakra system in colors. I think that's understandable by many, that there are people out there that can see what your aura is like, or they can see if your chakra system's moving accordingly and it's bright and lovely. Lovely gift. I don't have that gift. It's a lovely gift because it's another indicator of being able to know where people are at with things. And one more, and then we're going to get into the empaths, and this will all make more sense. We needed a bit of back understanding as to the gifts that we're going to be talking about in association with the empaths. Clear scent, or clear sentient, or it's smelling, folks. It's smelling. The ability to use smell to gain information about people, places, things from the past, present, and future. This is a gift. This is a gift. And I will tell you, this gift will actually be more on a rise. So even if you have other gifts, as we're fixing to link everything together here in a moment, even if you have other gifts, like you have some clairvoyance or clear audience, for empaths of the world, for those who already have abilities and work in them, clear scent is now going to attach itself even more so. You're going to start noticing it. So do know it's based on smell, scent. Um, that scent can gain a lot of information, past, present, and future. It's a very fascinating gift. But it is definitely, some people might experience this. Here's an example. Some people might experience it, especially if they are gifted in this. They tend to build like a catalog of understanding their gift, meaning they've lived so many years understanding that they have the gift of clear scent. So every time they smell roses, that is a representation of something for them. Or every time that they smell a fish, that's a representation for them. And there's no fish around or roses around, right? Every time they smell, um, fr- uh, let's see, baking bed, like bread being baked, right? It's got a very distinct smell. Beautiful, fresh bread being baked. Let's say they're nowhere near, but they're sitting in front of their computer at work and nobody near them is baking bread, nor are any of the windows open. And all of a sudden they smell bread being baked. Usually they put things in categories then. They associate things with these smells. And that's how they then identify and gain more knowledge as to their day or the event that's going on around them or whatnot. So it is an interesting gift. I definitely don't have that gift. I've had pockets, I guess you would say, experiences in it, but I definitely don't have it. And it's a bit more rare than other things. That is rare. Telepathy's more rare than, let's say, mediumship, talking to disembodied dead people. That's vastly more common. So, but I do believe in future years, it clear scent will be more prevalent for folks. How's everybody doing? I see that Chloe came in and Jackie J is here. Good to see you, ladies. So, now we're actually going to get into empaths. So we talked about windows, doors, lighthouses. We talked about all of the predominant, I was going to say, spiritual gifts. Now, once again, if you do want longer, more extensive curriculum, I mean, there's a lot more quote unquote psychic gifts that people can, I can do a episode on it. Let me know in the comments below. All right, beloved empaths. Before we start getting into this list, these are the, let's say, predominant ones. Also, you might be a mix. I had in the Patreon group when I was teaching this material about over a year ago, one of the patrons uh, asked, "Well, can you be a French door?" And I just laughed. It was so much, it was funny because I'm referencing how the feeler empaths are more like windows, easy access, right? And then the door empaths, they're able to choose more so if that door opens or closes. And this beloved patron said, "Well, can you be a French window?" Or a French door, I mean, meaning, or a Dutch door, I'm sorry, a Dutch door, or even a French door with it's all a window, or a Dutch door that the top can open up like a window, but it's closed at the bottom. And yes, you can have different aspects of different categories here of empaths within, especially in today's world. But usually, I do have to emphasize, usually there's going to be a predominant trait and then a lesser one. So even with, for example, you could be an intuitive empath, which we'll explain, but then one of the lesser degrees within the same person is like an animal empath. That can happen. You could also be an intuitive empath with also be a physical empath. It depends on the degree of what is more dominant within, all based on energy. So, predominant empaths. We have a physical empath. Natural ability to know what is wrong with someone's health. Physical empaths are your psychic physicians. You don't find this too often. You really don't. My teacher who passed away, Sri Ram Ka, superb physical empath, right? This, though, is when they become healers. These are the ones that really know what's going on. They can visualize and see and tap into what is happening with someone else's body. Their gifts are usually aura reading, clairsentient, like they can smell out cancer, remote viewing, as in they can view into your body down to the cellular level, and clairvoyance. There might be another entity helping them navigate where to look and see. It's a beautiful gift. It's an amazing, beautiful gift. This is our shamans of yesteryear, not of today. Shamans, what shamans originally were, usually always had this gift because it was definitely needed. Those with this gift, though, this type of empath. So this is an actual empath, a physical empath who naturally has the ability to know what's wrong as far as health wise in another human. And this, they might not even really be aware of it. You could have a friend or an aunt or someone that the moment you start talking about, my knees kind of bothering me, for some reason, they can say, boop, 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 boop. It's all this and that. You should, you know, and this is what will help. They just automatically know what's going on with your tissues, with your joints. That is because they probably have the gift. They just never acknowledged it really. It was just a part of who they are. The problem with these folks though is, let's say they do know they have this gift. The challenge for them is trusting oneself and knowing what to say and when. That is a very It's difficult because it's health. Truly difficult. So let's say you are a physical empath and you are aware, oh my goodness, this person is ill, but you have no standing. You have nothing to go off of. You have no proof. Can you trust what you're thinking and seeing? And even if so, how do you tell someone that? How do you bring it up in conversation? Do you say anything? Because it's really none of your business. Big challenge for them. Uh, Most of the time, if people actually have this gift, if they're unaware, they're going to probably just say some general health stuff. If they are aware, they have to get past their insecurities of what if I'm wrong? Not easy. These folks are definitely your doors because there's less of them. And like I said, they either open it up to tell you what's going on or they shut the door because it's none of their business. They have a bit more um, sense of responsibility with the messages that they receive. Okay. So, emotional empaths. This is not going to be the same as intuitive empaths. So, we will discuss the differences. Emotional empaths. Most common empath that is able to pick up and feel others' emotions. Take that in, folks. The most common empath of all the empaths that ever could be, they are the most common. These beautiful windows everywhere, just feeling and feeling and feeling and feeling and feeling. Feeling everything going on around them, feeling the collective, feeling who's right in front of them, feeling these beautiful, beloved souls, emotional empaths. Most common, most common. They are definitely the windows. Their gifts, though, can be in divination, right? Using tools to connect, mediumship. They definitely, the majority, if they have a gift uh, in some kind of psychic ability, mediumship is very common if they're aware of it or not. Clear audience, they can get messages and or reading. They can see the beautiful colors or the not so beautiful colors. Beautiful emotional empaths, these lovely windows that things are just going in and out of them, it seems, right? You can look on in, you can see out. I mean, it's just this back and forth energy. They are taking it all in. The challenge with them, not being able to identify what is their emotions from others. When we talk about that as a challenge, look at our society today. Most people get very emotional based on something that is in no relation to their own. But they are very understanding, compassionate. It's as if they feel the experience of the other person. They feel the whole experience. And then they are trying to release that because it's not theirs. It's not theirs. Most common empath. So these beautiful empaths that struggle with this, most of the time they're not even aware that they're doing it because from birth to today, They have been absorbing and absorbing and absorbing, and it's hard for them to regulate and tap into what is mine opposed to everybody else's. They need a lot of downtime. They need a lot of um, time to release other people's emotions in order to even identify what is theirs. One, many of them, because they feel other people so immensely, they automatically think it's theirs. It is so hard for them. It is good for them to pause, breathe, and say, is this happening? Is this happening to me? Is this mine? Because it's difficult to already live in such heightened emotion all the time. All the time. How do you focus at work? How do you focus here? How do you focus there? Unfortunately, I do believe a lot of those who, let's say, have focused deficits, let's say. I'm trying to be kind here. And it is in love. Most people that I have come across who are more ADD, ADHD, somewhere on somewhere on that spectrum, they are the ones who are also absorbing people's emotions all the time. It is very hard to focus when you have to go out there in the world and you're just sucking it all in. It's coming through that window like a beam of light into you, right? Different than the intuitive empaths. Intuitive, intuitive empaths have the ability to sense the full scope or picture of any situation. So, an intuitive empath, everyone associates them as the emotional ones. That's not necessarily so. Emotional empaths are exactly that. There are feelers, there are windows. They're actually the ones that are reflecting back to us the emotions that we are feeling, but maybe be, not aware of it. That's what their reason for living with that as an empath is. The emotional empaths are here as our mirrors to go, hey, if I look like this to you, where do you think it's coming from? Our intuitive empaths, they might feel. They are feelers. They're a feeler empath, they are a window. But it's for a different reason. They are very close to their intuition. And those who are aware of how close they are to their intuition, and instead of denying it, they start actually listening and listening repeatedly and listen, and follow what the intuition says. They can develop such a high level of intuition abilities that it's just as comparable to psychic abilities. Intuition actually comes from like two different a Latin word and an English word that could be translated as in quote unquote considered or to contemplate. That's where the word intuition comes from. Here's a definition of intuition. Intuition is the ability to acquire knowledge without recourse to conscious reasoning. Different fields of study use the word intuition in various different ways, including but not limited to direct access to unconscious knowledge, unconscious cognition, gut feelings, inner sensing, inner sight, to unconscious pattern recognition, and the ability to understand something instinctively without any need for conscious reasoning. They just know. They just know. Interesting, though, that I'm trying to say that, or it would appear that I'm calling them a knower empath. They're not. They are still a feeler empath. It is because our intuition is attached to our feelings, gut feelings. And when we start having those feelings, that's when the intuition's going knock, 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 listen to me, knock, knock. You got some feelings, pay attention to what I want to tell you. And like I said at the beginning, as I hold this card back up, our intuition is also attached to our divine feminine energy within us. So we need to pay attention to more of the divine feminine intuition within all humans. And the more we follow that beautiful intuition, the more we don't deny that feminine energy within, usually because our ego, that is more masculine energy, wants to drive the car and make the decisions. When we can be in this sacred geometry of divine feminine, we can develop that gift to an extent of you're psychic now. I will tell you, my husband, who is a double cancer, that poor ocean, as cancers are known as the cosmic sponge. He's a double, so he's sucking in all of your guys's energy. That poor man. He is an emotional empath because he is a cancer. A lot of signs are usually related to their zodiacs as well. We're not covering that this episode. Emotional empath, he's sucking everything in, his feelers are just taking everything, everybody's stuff, good, bad, or indifferent, it's all within him. But his intuition, years ago, this has gotta be at least 15 years ago or so, we had noticed his intuition was really good. So these 2 usually can go together. Emotional empaths and intuitive empaths. You're gonna see it, usually in the same body of form. So we spoke about him, "Hey, start paying attention to that intuition. Follow it, listen to it, be with it. That's your greatest source. That's what will navigate you through soaking up everyone's emotions. That will actually help you also know what is for you and what's not for you, what path to go down, what path not to go down when it's so hard because you're feeling everyone's stuff." So he consciously committed to continuously listening to his intuition to the point now my husband's intuition might as well just be full blown psychic. He just knows. Hence, intuitive empaths, the ability to sense the full scope picture of any situation. It can happen. Their gifts can be the intuitive empaths in remote viewing, divination, clear scent, and mediumship. Those are going to be the most common gifts associated with them, especially divination, because they've developed listening and having that intuition guide them the whole time. It's beautiful. This is their challenge though. Trusting themselves and speaking up when they know, but they don't have all the facts, which intuitive empaths aren't going to have all the facts. They're not going to know why we don't want to walk down that alley. They're not going to know why. They're not going to see the outcome different than other empaths. They're not going to be able to justify it. So, do we trust that intuition? Yes, please trust it. The problem is then speaking up about it because there's not any evidence. All they can say is, "Well, I know. My intuition tells me." And we're still somewhat in a society that doesn't take that as enough evidence to not walk down the alley. So they grew up automatically denying their intuition. Well, my intuition says, let's not walk down this alley, but how do I tell all the people around me? They're going to laugh at me. They're going to say, what are you talking about? So what's going to happen? And you have no idea what's going to happen. So they usually spend their younger years swallowing it and swallowing it and swallowing it. So as adults, it's still there. It's very present. As an intuitive empath, please, please, because we love you. You are some of the best. You are just under the most common, that is the emotional empath. You're the next most common. And we need you. We need you to say, hey, don't walk down that alley. And it doesn't matter if I know why or not. We're going to take a different path. But because intuition is also very much attached to the feelings, right? That's how we know it's trying to talk to us. It gets hard because then we have feelings based on, do I say, do I not say? Intuitive empaths as adults, start listening again, start following the intuition. It's not going to steer you wrong. We're going to need you. And you are the second in line most common empath. So there's more windows of you intuitive empaths, you feeler empaths, because it is a feeler, even though it's attached to a little bit of knowing, it's coming through your feelings. Please use it more. Trust it, because we need it. Society needs it. All right, beloveds. Telepathic empaths, which we've already covered, kind of the gift of telepathy. But here's the empaths. There's actually telepathic empaths, able to read people's thoughts and feel their emotions because people's thoughts are attached to their emotions. This is the story of what I just said with the gift of telepathy, because it's a psychic gift, but then you have empaths with that gift. These are your doors. These definitely are your doors. They will choose to use that information and open the door or shut it, right? They will have more authority and responsibility with this gift, hopefully. Growing up with it, a little tricky to understand what to say and what not to say, but they are empaths. Um, they feel, they feel, but because they are understanding, like reading your thoughts, either in hearing, sight, or just knowing, they are more equipped to not allow those feelings of what you experienced or who you are as a person and your motives. They don't hold on to it necessarily. Once again, doors. Well, either they open or they shut them. Telepathic empaths can be gifted in remote viewing, telepathy, of course, clairvoyance, and divination. Their challenge: difficulty knowing when or how to share information and viewing their own emotions as equally valuable. It is actually a problem with them. So, first off, just because you know it doesn't mean you say it. You know how many, so audience knows this is me. This is me more so than anything else. I was born with telepathy. I'm a telepath. I'm this kind of empath. Growing up, I did not know that just because you can see it doesn't mean you say it. And then as an adult, I learned that just because I saw it and then I said it, it actually could harm others. So I had to develop responsibility. Also, I've had to develop how I turn it on and turn it off. Close that door, open that door, right? Because if we met on the street right now, I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't want to know your whole backstory. When I was a child, I didn't know how to control it, and your whole backstory would come through my mind. Oh, as an adult, I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know nothing about you unless you wanna tell me. I have boundaries. But as people who are born with this, they might not have the responsibility and understand that just because you can see it, you can hear it, you know it, doesn't mean that you speak it. So you can hold a lot of people's secrets, okay? But you can also put up your boundaries, shut it down, and also you can release it. If it's somebody else's secrets, it's somebody else's secrets. It's not yours. You just junk it out because it's none of your business. But that's a very difficult process for telepathic empaths to really understand their responsibility there. It's an invasion of privacy when we don't have our boundaries in place and we set ourselves as in, I'm not using it, right? You do have control. Everyone who is maybe understanding and maybe resonating with any of these empaths right now, I do have to declare that because empaths and the gifts associated with them are yours, you were born with them, they are yours. That does mean you also have authority and responsibility within the use of those gifts. And it doesn't matter if you're a emotional empath, intuitive, right? Could you imagine if some of the emotional empaths learned that they were emotional empaths and learned to maybe take a step back before reacting and say, whoa, this is not even mine. This is someone else's. Release. So, as adults, we do have to take responsibility of what is innately ours. Again, also, so it's hard to know what to share and what not to share. Also, with them, it is it's better to shut it down and open it up when needed, and we are able to do that. We establish the authority over our gifts. Um, telepic, telep, ugh, whew. Telepathic empaths are more rare. Not as rare as some of the others, but they are rare. I do wanna say I believe Edgar Cayce did also have this gift. That is what when you see children, and I bring up Edgar Cayce because we have learned in his biography, he was an interesting sort of child that would see an adult maybe in a bit distressed or a little looking a little bum, a little blue. He would automatically go up to them and ask them what's going on. And they would feel compelled to share to this neighboring child that they barely know all of what's happening in their life. And then Edgar would compassionately, knowingly tell them how it's going to be okay. Tell them this, tell them that, and sincerely be. And beautiful beings, Edgar Cayce could have been 6 years old doing that to a 36-year-old. I believe that is a natural energy to a telepathic empath. That because they can read people's thoughts in this full scope of awareness and emotions and how it affects the whole around them, they came here not just with that ability, but the ability to then talk to people of different races, cultures, creeds, ages, all of it, cultures, all of it, with more of a sight, hearing, knowing, understanding, walking in someone else's shoes, because they also get to feel it all, that they are there more so for that comfort, for that compassion, for that you've got this, the encouragement. I do believe Edgar Cayce had this gift. Now, was it necessarily known or did he recognize it as such? Maybe not. Most of them don't. But these are your wow, how did that soccer coach know exactly what that kid's going through, even though that kid really didn't say nothing and his behavior is not really showing it, but that soccer coach knew exactly what that kid is going through and exactly how to encourage that kid. Exactly knew possibly authorities to call to just check in on that family. The coach just knew. It's a part of a knower door. I shut, I open, you see, you know what's really going on. A little bit different than those with the gift of cognition, okay? But they do normally have clairvoyance. They also have a bit of, they can have clear audience, but more clairvoyance, right? All right. Psychic empaths, which are going to be different than telepathic empaths. See, this is all going to sound very like the two could mix together, right? And they do. Telepathic and psychic very much could be within the same body of form. It is in mind, it is in Edgar Casey, right? Psychic empaths, ability to communicate with spirit, mostly with mediumship and channeling. So this is different than mediumship is only communicating with disembodied beings, dead people. When channeling could be you're channeling angels, you're channeling the galactic council, you're channeling different forms of entities, right? Psychic empaths, they communicate with what people reference as spirit, that kind of energy that can interlink things and present itself in different entity forms. They are gift definitely in mediumship, divination, clear audience, and clairvoyance. More so, you're going to find more clear audience than clairvoyance. I'm just putting it out there. Most people that have the gift of clear audience, that they can hear the message they're talking, that's their psychic ability, they're talking with these beings, they might not be able to actually see it. They might see some colors. They work really good in like colors, right? But they're good at divination because they're talking with things, or they just know. Now, your psychic empaths should be doors because they're less common than windows. But in today's world, I do have to say, beloveds, I think we have a lot of psychic empaths who are also emotional empaths. The two are coming together. So their dominant might be psychic and they can talk with spirit and whatnot, and their less dominant is emotional, or vice versa. Because when you meet these people, they have their challenges. Their challenge tends to be staying grounded and being able to filter out fact from fiction. And there's one more challenge, but just hold on to that. So, when we meet these people, these are the psychics, and God love them, right? They should be more doors and really developing their gifts and working with them. But I do say, like I said, in today's world, I think we have a new kind of grouping, which also make the psychic empath, if that is more dominant and the second is emotional, we are seeing these people much more so. Years ago, I would have said telepathic empaths are low on the number scale, like as in common and less common. Psychics, I would have put like maybe a notch above of telepathy, as in they weren't as common. You're intuitive, you're emotional, yeah, those are the most common. Psychics, though, That is so much more common that honestly, they're kind of in the same bar as far as how many are out there, as far as yeah, I think they're equivalent to like intuitive now, right? There's a lot of psychic empaths out there. A lot. Challenge, staying grounded, and being able to filter out fact from fiction. Because if they're born with this ability, they don't know any different. They have been communicating with things since the get-go, since they were laying down in their baby crib, and all these beings are blah, 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 talking to them, showing up. They don't know any different. But many times, because they don't know any different, they do not use the protections that they need because no one's teaching them to do so. And so there's a lot of different entities that come and talk. A lot. There could be interdimensional beings. There could be beings coming from the astral that do not serve them well. There could be disembodied beings. It could be a lot of beings. It could be demons who are masking themselves. And oftentimes, people who are born with this gift do not develop the reasoning and understanding to have discernment. It is also so. With that being said, it is hard for them to distinguish between fact and fiction because they're listening to all these different sources. Also, difficult for them to be grounded because they're listening to all these different sources, and usually they don't know how to shut it down and keep it away from them, that they're also being bombarded all the time. All the time. You ever hang out with these people and they're just like, "Whoa, flighty. Whoa. Now who's talking to you now? Who's talking to you now?" It's like they can't control well, they can, but it's as if they just all these beings are always coming in and talking to them. So it's hard for them to stay focused, to have a sequenced conversation. They are very flighty, would be the word that we use for them. They need to ground, 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 and put great boundaries up around their entire self. But when they don't, there is a detrimental aspect that these people don't normally know about because it's not trained. Another challenge is allowing themselves to be in the presence of death for too long of a periods of time because they're born with this gift and disembodied beings are just coming and trying to talk to them and communicate. Many of them do not know. So this is a little food for thought. If you think you might be one of them, a psychic empath who is able to just kind of talk with all things around. When it comes to disembodied beings, dead people, dead people are still within the energy of death. They're dead. That means that is the energy they hold most while you're talking to them. So you are a live being, a human being, a psychic empath who who never knew anything different other than talking to a bunch of dead people all the time and dead people like in the bed with you while you're sleeping, dead people talking to you while you're taking a shower, dead people everywhere. Those disembodied dead people still hold the energy of death, meaning that human life, the human who is communicating, the human that doesn't know any different, has been immersed and surrounded by the energy of death. No human alive, should ever be present in death for long periods of time. This is when the Christ would say, "Let the dead be with the dead and the living be with the living." Because we living should not be around the energy of death, not for long pockets of time. So that is a huge challenge for these people. Hence why flightiness, hence why sick stomach, they're always kind of got their guts are never feeling right. They're feeling weak all the time. There's things that go on with them, but it's because they are actually walking around day to day, not in life energy, but in death energy often. So please, please be aware of that. That is their biggest struggles, and they're not even aware of it. They don't know why they're always kind of ill. They don't know why they're always, low energy. It's because life is not meant to be with death. So, just a couple more things here, folks. I hope everybody's hanging in there and doing good. I saw that Kim came in and Chloe came in. Good to see you, ladies. Seeker of Truth and Neil, thanks for sticking with me. And I believe Jackie J's in the house. Good to see you, my dear. Now on to our two lighthouses. And I'll finish up with this. These are your most rare empaths. One is your psychometric empaths. This is your ability to sense information about people, places, and events through inanimate objects. This is rare, folks. I've only met maybe two in my life. This is someone that when they pick up this book of Edgar Casey, written in 1969, and has probably gone through a million different hands since 1969, they can touch it and they can get the full scope of where this book has been, all the hands that touched it, and what was going on with those people. It's a very rare gift, and it's still rare to this day. It's not the same as touching like a crystal. A crystal has its own energy. Oftentimes psychics can pick up a crystal and feel it and go, "Oh man, this has been around for a long time." That sort of thing. That's not really an inanimate object. Crystals are alive. Rocks are alive, right? The things made out of, carved out of wood, that's alive, where that's different kind of energy. This book though, this this plastic cup. You see what I'm saying? These are inanimate objects. These beloved empaths, these psychometric empaths, are able to, regardless of what the item is made out of, they know its history, and they also might know where it's going. These are your lighthouses. These are your ones that, man, they got all of the gifts almost. They have clairvoyance, clear scent, clear audience, remote viewing, divination, mediumship, aura reading, telepathy, all the gifts that they usually never even develop. That they never usually develop. Unfortunately, these are your lighthouses. That imagine if every time you touched an inanimate object, that object wanted to tell you everywhere it's ever been and what was going on with all the people around it. These become not the lights that they're supposed to be for us, but more like recluse. They suffer from a lot of social anxieties, uh, stemming from early childhood. I mean, imagine if you're out for dinner with your parents as a child and you have this gift and you picked up that fork, and now you know how many mouths those forks have touched, washed or not. You see what I'm saying? They can also though, in their own right, because of what objects are to them, that every object has a story and multiple stories. Not just being a recluse, they can also develop like hoarding situations, hardcore hoarding situations, because everything has a story, everything has a purpose, everything. Everything has the images and emotions, right? So, unfortunately, these sorry, these empaths, the psychometric empath, in fact, actually has the ability to obtain and develop all of the psychic gifts. This rare empath could be, could be the lighthouse that says, "Hey, everybody, this is how you use your gifts. Hey, everybody, this is how everything can look and go. And this should go here and this here. And we can live in harmony. We really, truly can." But unfortunately, what a rough world. So we don't even see them really anymore, or we don't see them develop into what they have the potential to be. The last one that I'm going to end with is the Hekota. Now, in Sioux and Lakota, they called this empath the sacred clown. This is a rare empath. I It's still a rare empath. Please do note that. Um, I wrote here rare empaths that see the world differently and do their best to be mirrors for others. The sacred clown, right? Imagine this. We all know what a jester is, right? So the king is having a big feast and a celebration, and he says, "I want some jesters." Back when originally jesters, yes, would they be in some kind of clown makeup, right? But they would tell stories through movement and maybe just a few words. And really, by the end of their act, or maybe a few different acts, they were able to shine light on what society was truly like, right? They were the ones making fun of the rich. They might even make fun of the king. They might even make fun of something that shouldn't even be known. It's so secretive, and they, in a comical way, expose it. That is the sacred clown to the Sioux and the Lakota. That is an actual empath. In today's world, yes, could they be our comedians? Definitely. There have been such great comedians out there, but they also suffer because they are actually empaths. So are they able to make comedy out of the tragedies of human life and try to put that mirror up of like, "Oh, shoot. That was funny as hell, but that was breaking off some truth, right?" Thank goodness for these great comedians. Same kind of empath. But let's say they're not comedians that we can watch out on TV or on the screen or whatnot, but they're in your regular day life. Much more rare. But they are going to be the people that when you're in a group of people, it's as if I don't want to, it's hard to not put labels on things when you're labeling things of empaths. Um, they are going to be a bit more dramatic in their performance, let's say, around people. They're going to be the ones that out of nowhere, it seems like they took a jab at you. What? I we were all just staying around, laughing and joking, but yet, whoop, there's the jab, right? They are trying because it's natural for them, even though They will have a lot of social anxieties as well because it's not easy when you're trying to hold up such an interesting mirror to people. They are actually lighthouses, but yet they also don't develop all the gifts that could be attached to who they are, like telepathy, aura reading, clear audience, clear cognition, the knowing. They might not develop all that, but they have, it is possible for them to do so. Their challenge is not releasing the pain they see in the world enough. Often the weight of the world is on their shoulders, so they lash out. So when I'm talking about comedians, think about like Robin Williams. Oh my goodness, if you can actually watch his old comedies, when you can see what he was exposing and take it in with the humor that he did, genius, genius, carrying the weight of the world. Seeing worlds so differently and not really being knowing how to release it because they are able to get to the root of society issues, get to the root of what's going on with individuals, and they try to expose it, but they know to expose it in humor, pardon me, and or storytelling, but they still carry it around because as if their work is not good enough to expose what's going on to help people actually change. And if you know this person, like I just said, you could be hanging out in a group and they're being joyful and they're putting on their little performance for everybody. And then all of a sudden, boom, jab came your way. Whoa, why are you jabbing me? Because I see something that, needs to be looked at. Here's a mirror, but man, that mirror is a spike, because they also, it's not so easy for them to regulate what they see and what they should expose or not expose. And because they are so hyper aware of what the issue at hand is, it can go from fun and funny to all of a sudden lashing out. It can, it's a part of their trait. Especially if they feel that others have stopped listening and paying attention to them, all of a sudden they can start lashing out at individuals. The sacred clown. The natives here, the Sioux and the Lakota that gave these empaths their name, even though they can cause some drama, even though oh, it's a lot to be around them if they stumble into your tribe and do their little thing, or when they're before the king as a jester, that king doesn't go, whoa, you went too far, now off with your head, right? Even though they can maybe push it too far, the natives here understood that they did serve a very big purpose because they can get to that root, that core of what is really going on in that tribe, in that society, in that king's court, in that individual. They can very much see with their different kind of knowing eyes. They are doors. They need to make choices of when to be on and performing and when to not, and when to stop lashing out and when to not, because of their rarity. And actually, after they leave and they've jabbed, they were funny, they did their whole skit. After they leave and the tribe, the individuals, what have you, are kind of sitting in their own silence with what was just said and done, so much self awareness, awareness of society and what's going on around. in the tribe, in the community, what have you, in the individual can come in after one of their performances and or just lashing out can come in that moment of quiet. The amount of awareness is actually greater than pretty much any other form of empath. They are our lighthouses. They should be on stage much more. They should be around much more. But like I said, it is hard for them to release the pain that they see in this world. And for some reason, they carry that pain on their shoulders. This is like your Robin Williams. So, and other great comedians, right? So, that, beloveds, is your most predominant and the two rare empaths. Like I said, there's other kinds that could be your secondary from dream empaths to plant, animal, planet empaths, right? Um, there's a bunch of different forms that could be within one individual, but there will always be a predominant one. Emotional, intuitive, telepathy, all of these, psychic empath. We talked a bit about their challenges. We talked a bit about the gifts that they could develop. We talk about the responsibilities we have being that form of empath. Emotional empaths, please get your alone time and try not to react because oftentimes what you're feeling is not yours, right? Intuitive empaths, please follow your intuition. God bless you. It's your biggest gift for society and yourself, right? Telepathic empaths. Just because you know doesn't mean you say it, right? Psychic empaths know that life is not meant to be around death, right? We can turn it on, we can turn it off. All sorts of beautiful gifts, and we are all needed. And if you want more exposure to this stuff, you can consider joining Stars of Morning Light on Patreon. Even the $5 tier monthly subscription gets you all of the classes. And we've covered this there maybe over a year ago, but trust me, we did go more in depth. We also went in more depth about all these gifts and abilities, how to use them, how to work with them, how to build them, all of it at Stars of Morning Light on Patreon. Now, I am willing to do another episode here about the more offshoot empaths, the more lesser dominant ones at a different time. Let me know in the comments. Please, if you think this might benefit others out there, if they might be able to resonate in understanding, yeah, you could be an empath, so therefore you probably have gifts associated with that type of empath. Share this out. Give a thumbs up, share it out. Definitely subscribe if you're new here because this information is going to need to get out to more than just the 527 subscribers here. It needs to get out to much more because we're walking into a period of time that soon everyone everyone will be a form of some type of empath. So, I love you all greatly. Do know that tomorrow night, March 1st of 2025, I will be over at Lucky Stone 888 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, being a co-host over there as we interview Mr. Floyd. Uh, I think his name is Josh, and I believe his channel is Mr. Floyd's Universe. It was kind of weird how I was going to say that. The channel is Mr. Floyd's Universe. His lovely name is Josh. Please be with us tomorrow night. for that lovely interview. I've never met Josh. I think it's going to be grand. Um, and I do believe Chloe, who is here in the chat right now, is also going to be with Mr. Floyd on his channel tomorrow morning, March 1st at like 10:30 Eastern time. So kudos to you, Miss Chloe. We definitely got to get you on Esoteric Tea with Lucky Stone 888 and I to talk crystals because you know way more than I do about them, and I love that about you. And do know, folks, that the March Zodiac and Collective Akashic readings will be going out to the patrons today. You all will receive them sometime at the beginning week of March. And the two messages from Archangel Gabriel are already recorded and they will be released on two different Sundays in the month of March. God bless you all. Enjoy your day. Laugh, 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 laugh. If you resonated with any of the information here, if there is information here that was new to you but needed, please leave a comment below so maybe it'll entice others to say, oh, this is more than the average information to Google. I love you all. Cheers to you. Thank you all for coming. I see Lucky Stone below. Thank you, sir. I will see you mañana for a great episode at Lucky Stone 888 for Esoteric Tea. Have a great one, folks. Keep on shining, beautiful stars.